So when is it that you should start thinking about this sort of stuff? As I said, I started thinking about where I was going to go to college when I was a junior in high school.
Right.
You can't do that anymore, can you?
No. To be brutally honest,
Yeah.
you should start thinking the day your kid is born.
Okay.
I'm serious. Because the statistics show, I mean, when your kid is born, statistics show that by the time they become a senior in high school, 95% of parents in the United States have $10,000 or less saved for their kids' college education. But there's the other 5%. I've had parents walk in to my office that, you know, they were telling me about the kid was 10 years old. They had like 80, 90,000 put away. Yeah, but that's rare.
Yeah.
And most people want to figure out how to get financial aid is a main concern with a lot of parents. And, you know, we just try to give them a lot of guidelines on how to get to financial aid.
So there sounds like there's a couple of things that are, you have to plan, you have to start executing on almost from the get-go, this idea of thinking ahead. If you're having a family, if you want your kids to go to college, you should start planning for that and preparing for the financial impact of that right from the beginning. But as there's another timeline too, it sounds like, with respect to the student. When the student needs to start actually thinking about where he or she wants to go and what they should be doing in order to enhance their chances to get there. And when should a student start doing those sorts of things?
I would say about the ninth grade.
About the ninth grade?
About the ninth grade. You should really start thinking about that. The problem is, as you know, most ninth graders are not thinking about, you know, what they're going to do for college. And a lot of that has to do with the parents. The parents need to be involved. They have to start thinking about what they're going to do. How are we going to plan? How are we going to pay for this? And unfortunately, a lot of parents don't. You know, what we suggest is sit down with the kid, you know, have a meeting, you know, meet with somebody, talk with someone other than just your guidance counselor, because it is so expensive now. The cost of attendance and when I say cost of attendance, I'm referring to not just the tuition. It's tuition plus the books plus living expenses plus walk around money.
Sure.
In California, the state system, it's around $18,000 for cost of attendance.
Per year?
Per year, okay. For the UCs,
wow.
It's around $25,000 for the UCs, University of California system. Now, when you talk about the private colleges, you're talking generally between $40,000 and $50,000.
Wow.
So if you aren't planning, you wait till your senior year and you're trying to figure this stuff out,
you're in trouble.
You're in a little trouble.
$40,000 to $50,000. I went to a private university in the state of Washington, and I was paying, this is over 30 years ago, I was paying like $2,500 a year or something ridiculous like that. I mean, it was ridiculously cheap.
I think that's cheap. I won't tell you what I paid for tuition when I was in college.
Let's talk about finding funds right now, because we're going through some interesting economic challenges right now. And one of the things that I remember you were telling me about when we met a couple weeks ago was that there were a lot of funds made available as either what would you call them, grants or special programs from financial institutions like Wells Fargo and Washington Mutual and some of these other financial institutions. But there's a lot of crazy stuff going on in the banking world right now. What is this doing to the availability of funds?
It's shrinking the amount of money that's available for a student loan, and it's affecting a lot of my clients. You know, I try to keep them away from student loans. It's the last thing that we want them to do. But if they have to go that route, I think we had 135 lenders less than a month ago that would actually give a plus loan, which is a parent loan for undergraduate students, and that has shrunk to less than 22.
Say that again. There were
135 30 days ago, and that's shrunk to less than 22. And the 22 number was a week ago. I have a feeling that's more around 15 right now.
And these are financial institutions that were offering some type of student loan?
That's correct.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's correct.
And now if the cost of going to college is in the 20, the 5 digits like we were talking about, and finding funds is, you know, the availability of resources for funding are going away, how does a student manage? How do you pay for college?
It's all planning. It's all planning. There is a considerable amount of money out there if you apply at the right college.
If you apply at the right college.
See, the problem, what happens with families now is that, I'm going to talk about the cost of a private education as opposed to a public education.
Okay.
Yeah, what a lot of families will do is they will go onto a website of say, University of San Francisco, and I think it's around $45,000. And if you make $100,000 and college is going to cost you $45,000, what are you generally going to do? You're going to click to the website of the college that costs, $15,000, $18,000. That's a big mistake. And the reason for that is that the private institutions have more funding for financial aid than the public does.
Really?
That's correct.
Why is that?
Endowments, your alumni, they're generally in much better financial shape, and they're looking for good students. They will give good students a good financial aid package. Now, the key to that is knowing which ones give the best financial aid package.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have a software program that, once we narrow down the list of schools, our software program will give you the amount of aid that this school traditionally gives out. To give you a little better idea, there's something called expected family contribution, and that's something that all your viewers need to know about. What the government does is, approximately for every $100,000 that you make, between 23 and 25% of that, the government expects you to come out of your pocket with. So you figure in the middle, say we take 24, if you make $100,000 between a working family, that is $24,000 that they expect you to pay for.
Expect you to pay
out of your pocket
for college.
For college. Now, if that number is, if you're at a state school,
is that in a year? Is that
that's
for a 4-year term?
1 year.
For 1 year.
1 year.
If you're making $100,000 in income as a family, they're expecting, if you're sending a child to college, that you're going to be able to put 24,000 of that 100 toward that student's education.
That's correct.
Whoa.
Well, so if you take a state school, we're talking about that, say $18,000, and your cost of your expected family contribution is $24,000. You're not getting any financial aid from the school.
Yeah, I guess not.
You're not going to get a dime. The good news and the solution to that is there are a lot of strategies out there that the public is not aware of to lower that expected family contribution number. And as a college planner, that's what we do for a living. Okay, we look at solutions and strategies to figure out ways to lower that number to help a family become eligible for financial aid, just like when your CPA does your taxes. He's looking for a loophole to get you more money back at the end of the year. Well, there are a lot of, matter of fact, there's over 3,000 strategies to lower that number.
Really?
The public doesn't know very much about
it.
They just don't know about it.
I'm going to want to let the folks out there know that they can send an email to info@referencepointtv.com, and we can get some queries and information over to Dan if you have any interest in learning about this sort of stuff, because this is important and necessary information. I mean, the idea that depending upon your income, the government is anticipating that you're going to contribute a certain percentage. That's a pretty hefty percentage of one's income to be putting toward a college education. What happens if you've got 2 or 3 kids that are going to be going to school at the same time? You're toast.
You are totally toast.